My mother sliced my face with glass to make me too ugly to model. Hi, I'm Catherine. Today, I'm going to tell you my story. But before I continue, please like, share, and subscribe to hear more stories like this. I was 15 when a modeling scout approached me at the mall. My mother, Pauline Ashford, and I were shopping for school clothes when a woman named Vivian Castellano handed me her business card. She worked for a legitimate agency in the city, about an hour from our suburb of Fairmont. You have an incredible look. The bone structure, the height, everything. Have you ever considered modeling? I laughed nervously. Me? No, never. You should. Come by the agency for an evaluation. We're always looking for fresh faces. My mother snatched the card from my hand the moment Vivian walked away. Modeling? Absolutely not. Mom, it might be fun. At least let me check it out. Those agencies are scams, Catherine. They prey on naive girls and their families. She seemed legitimate. Can't we at least research the company? No, this conversation is over. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, I looked up the agency online. Vivian Castellano was real, a senior talent scout with an impressive portfolio of models she'd discovered. The agency had stellar reviews and represented people who'd worked with major brands. This wasn't a scam. I brought it up again at breakfast the next morning. My father, Leonard Ashford, was reading the newspaper while eating toast. Dad, what do you think about modeling agencies? He looked up. Why do you ask? Someone scouted Catherine at the mall yesterday, my mother interrupted, her voice sharp. I already told her it's not happening. Why not? My father asked. If it's legitimate, it could be a good opportunity. Leonard, modeling is a terrible industry. It'll destroy her self-esteem and expose her to dangerous people. Or it could build her confidence and earn her money for college. Let's at least hear what they have to say. My mother's face turned red, but she didn't argue further. That weekend, my father drove me to the agency for an evaluation. Vivian was professional and straightforward, explaining that I'd need to build a portfolio, attend casting calls, and balance everything with school. The agency would take a commission, but only after I booked paid work, no upfront fees. Your daughter has real potential. With the right development, she could work with excellent clients. My father seemed impressed. What do you think, Catherine? I want to try. We signed with the agency that day. My mother didn't speak to either of us the entire drive home. Over the next 6 months, I threw myself into modeling. I did test shoots to build my portfolio, attended workshops on posing and runway walking, and went to casting calls after school. My father drove me to most of them, supporting my new passion. I booked my first paid job in December, a catalog shoot for a department store. The pay was modest, but I felt like I'd won the lottery. My mother's resentment grew with each booking. She'd make cutting remarks about the industry, about how I was wasting time on vanity instead of focusing on academics. She'd criticize my appearance constantly, saying I was getting too thin, that my hair looked damaged, that I wore too much makeup. You're turning into someone I don't recognize, she'd say. I'm still the same person, Mom. I just found something I love. You love being objectified? Being valued only for your looks? It's not like that. Modeling is hard work, and I'm good at it. You're 15 years old. You don't know anything. By spring, I'd booked several more jobs, local commercials, print ads, even a small editorial spread in a regional magazine. My agency started talking about bigger opportunities, possibly runway work during Fashion Week, if I continued developing my skills. I was thrilled, but my mother's hostility intensified. She started sabotaging me in small ways. She'd forget to wake me up for early morning castings. She'd schedule dentist appointments during important callbacks. Once, she threw away my portfolio, claiming she'd thought it was trash. My father replaced it, but the tension in our house became unbearable. My younger brother Marcus tried to stay neutral, but even he noticed our mother's bizarre behavior. He was 12 and mostly concerned with video games and soccer, but he'd ask me why Mom seemed so angry all the time. I don't know, Marcus. I think she's jealous or scared of me growing up. That's weird. Dad seems proud of you. Yeah, Dad's been great. One evening in late April, everything exploded. I'd just booked my biggest job yet, a regional campaign for a clothing brand that would pay $5,000. The shoot was scheduled for June, right after school ended. I was ecstatic, calling my father at work to tell him the news. When he came home, he brought flowers and a card congratulating me. My mother was in the kitchen, slamming pots and pans while making dinner. "Pauline, did you hear Catherine's news? This is a huge opportunity." "Wonderful. Our daughter is becoming a professional clothes hanger." "Why can't you be happy for her?" "Happy? You're encouraging her to waste her life on something meaningless." "It's not meaningless if it makes her happy and earns her money. She should be focusing on college prep, not prancing around in front of cameras." I tried to intervene. "Mom, I can do both. My grades are still good. Your grades used to be excellent. Now you're too distracted by this nonsense." "I have a 3.8 GPA. That's hardly failing." "It's not good enough anymore. You're throwing away your potential." The argument continued through dinner, with my father and mother fighting, while Marcus and I sat in uncomfortable silence. Finally, I excused myself and went to my room, texting my best friend Simone Vargas about what had happened. "Your mom is being crazy," Simone replied. "My parents would be thrilled if I booked jobs like that." "I know. I don't understand why she's so against it." "Maybe she's jealous? Like she never did anything interesting and hates that you are?" That thought had crossed my mind, but I didn't want to believe my own mother could be that petty. 2 weeks later, on a Saturday afternoon, my mother asked me to help her reorganize the garage. My father and Marcus had gone to a soccer tournament, leaving us alone. I should have sensed something was wrong. She'd been oddly pleasant all morning, almost friendly. We worked in the garage for about an hour, sorting through old boxes and deciding what to keep or donate. Then my mother asked me to help her move a heavy shelf. As I bent down to lift my side, I heard glass breaking. I looked up just as my mother swung a broken picture frame toward my face. I tried to dodge, but the jagged glass caught me across my left cheek and down to my jaw. The pain was immediate and excruciating. I screamed, my hand flying to my face, feeling warm blood pouring through my fingers. "Mom, what did you do?" She stood there holding the broken frame, her face eerily calm. "It was an accident. You should have been more careful." "You did this on purpose! You swung it at me!" "Don't be dramatic. You moved suddenly when the frame broke." I stumbled into the house, blood dripping down my neck and soaking my shirt. I grabbed a kitchen towel and pressed it to my face, then called my father with my free hand. "Dad, come home now. Mom cut my face with glass." "What? Catherine, what happened?" "Just come home. I need to go to the hospital." He arrived 20 minutes later, having driven back at dangerous speeds. When he saw me, his face went white. The towel was soaked through with blood, and I could feel the wound still bleeding underneath. "Pauline, what the hell happened?" "It was an accident, Leonard. The frame broke while we were moving things." "Accident? Look at her face." "She moved suddenly. I couldn't help it." My father didn't waste time arguing. He grabbed his keys and drove me to the emergency room, leaving my mother standing in the driveway. Marcus stayed at the tournament with a friend's family. At the hospital, the ER doctor, a woman named Dr. Ingrid Brennan, examined my face with a grave expression. The cut was deep, requiring stitches, a lot of them. She asked how it happened. "My mother cut me with broken glass." Dr. Brennan's eyes sharpened. "On purpose?" I hesitated. Saying it out loud would make it real, undeniable. "Yes." "Your father is in the waiting room. Do you want him here for this conversation? Please." They brought my father in, and I told Dr. Brennan everything. My mother's escalating hostility toward my modeling, the sabotage, the argument 2 weeks ago, and finally today's attack. Dr. Brennan listened carefully, taking notes. "Catherine, I'm required by law to report suspected abuse. What you're describing sounds like intentional harm." "I know it was intentional." She swung the glass at me. My father looked devastated. "I knew Pauline was upset about the modeling, but I never thought she'd hurt you." Dr. Brennan called hospital security and social services. Within an hour, a police officer named Detective Raymond Novak arrived to take my statement. I repeated everything again, and my father corroborated the pattern of hostility and sabotage. Meanwhile, Dr. Brennan brought in a plastic surgeon, Dr. Marcus Chen, to assess the damage and perform the stitches. He was gentle but honest. "The laceration is significant. I'll do my best to minimize scarring, but you'll need follow-up treatments. Possibly laser therapy or surgical revision later. The scar will be visible. My heart sank. My face was my career, and now it was damaged, possibly permanently. Dr. Chen seemed to read my thoughts. Catherine, scarring doesn't mean your life is over. Many models work successfully with scars, but I won't lie, this will change things. The procedure took over an hour. When it was done, I had 23 stitches running from my cheekbone to my jaw. Dr. Chen bandaged everything carefully and prescribed pain medication and antibiotics. Detective Novak met with us again before we left. I've spoken with your mother. She maintains it was an accident, but given your statement and the circumstances, we're treating this as assault. She's been arrested and is currently at the station. Good, my father said firmly. I want a restraining order. She's not coming near Catherine again. That night, my father, Marcus, and I stayed at a hotel. My face throbbed despite the pain medication, and I couldn't stop crying. My father held me while I sobbed, apologizing over and over for not protecting me. This isn't your fault, Dad. I didn't think she'd actually hurt me. I should have seen how unstable she was becoming. Over the next few days, the legal process moved forward. My mother was charged with assault causing bodily harm. She hired a lawyer, a sleazy guy named Vincent Hargrove, who tried to argue it was an accident, that I'd moved unexpectedly. But the prosecutor, a sharp woman named Claudia Winters, had my testimony, Dr. Brennan's report documenting the suspicious nature of the injury, and my father's account of my mother's escalating hostility. The restraining order was granted immediately. My mother couldn't contact me or come within 500 feet of our house, my school, or the modeling agency. I missed 2 weeks of school recovering from the injury. When I returned, everyone stared at the bandages on my face. Simone stayed by my side, running interference with nosy classmates who asked invasive questions. The worst part was calling Vivian at the agency. I explained what happened, my voice breaking as I described the attack and the scarring. Catherine, I'm so sorry. That's horrific. I know this probably ends my career before it really started. Let's not jump to conclusions. Focus on healing first, both physically and emotionally. We'll figure out the rest later. The June campaign I'd booked was canceled. I couldn't work with stitches in my face. The client was understanding, but needed to move forward with someone else. Losing that job hurt almost as much as the physical injury. My mother's trial was set for September. In the meantime, my father filed for divorce and full custody of Marcus and me. My mother didn't contest either. Her lawyer probably advised her that fighting would make things worse. As my face healed, the scar became visible. Dr. Chen had done excellent work, but it was still there, a thin line running down my left cheek to my jaw. Some days it looked barely noticeable. Other days, especially when I was tired or emotional, it seemed to stand out like a brand. I went back to the agency in August, nervous about how Vivian would react seeing me in person. She hugged me carefully, mindful of my still healing face. How are you holding up? I'm okay, physically at least. Emotionally is harder. I can imagine. Have you thought about whether you want to continue modeling? I do, but I don't know if anyone will hire me now. Let's find out. The industry is changing. There's more appreciation for unique looks, for real stories. Your scar doesn't make you less beautiful, Catherine. It makes you distinctive. We did a test shoot the following week. The photographer, a kind man named Oliver Pemberton, worked with me to find angles that either minimized or embraced the scar, depending on the shot. Looking at the photos afterward, I barely recognized myself. I looked older, more serious, but also stronger somehow. Vivian started submitting me for jobs again, being upfront about the scar. Some clients passed, wanting more conventional looks, but others were intrigued. I booked a shoot for an athletic wear company that loved my warrior aesthetic, then an editorial spread for a magazine focusing on overcoming adversity. My mother's trial arrived in September. I testified about the attack, the months of sabotage, her escalating hostility. My father testified. Dr. Brennan provided medical evidence. The prosecutor presented a clear pattern of behavior culminating in violence. My mother's lawyer tried to paint her as a concerned parent, pushed to her breaking point by a rebellious teenager. Claudia demolished that narrative immediately. Mrs. Ashford didn't have a momentary lapse in judgment. She systematically sabotaged her daughter's opportunities for months, then physically attacked her when that sabotage failed to stop Catherine's success. This was premeditated violence driven by jealousy and control. The jury deliberated for 3 hours before returning a guilty verdict. The judge, a stern woman named Evelyn Thatcher, sentenced my mother to 2 years in prison, followed by 3 years probation and mandatory psychological counseling. Mrs. Ashford, you betrayed your duty as a parent in the worst possible way. You harmed your child because you couldn't handle her success. That's unconscionable. My mother cried and tried to apologize, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no forgiveness, just relief that she'd face consequences. Life moved forward. My father sold our house, wanting a fresh start away from the memories. We moved to a different neighborhood, and I transferred to a new school for my junior year. The scar became part of my identity, not something I hid, but not something I dwelt on either. Modeling continued, though differently than I'd originally imagined. I worked steadily, but not at the level I might have reached without the scar. Some doors closed, but others opened. I became sought after for campaigns about authenticity, resilience, and redefining beauty standards. I worked with brands that valued substance over conventional perfection. My relationship with my father and Marcus strengthened. We became a tight unit, supporting each other through the trauma. Marcus, who'd witnessed some of our mother's worst behavior, went to therapy to process everything. He became protective of me, always checking if I was okay. Senior year, I applied to colleges with strong business programs, planning to study marketing and possibly start my own agency someday. I'd learned that the modeling industry needed more people who understood what it was like on the other side of the camera, who'd advocate for models' well-being. My mother was released from prison after 18 months for good behavior. I didn't attend her release, didn't contact her, didn't acknowledge it at all. She sent a letter to my father's address, begging for forgiveness and a chance to rebuild our relationship. I threw it away without reading past the first line. Some people thought I was cold for cutting her off completely. A few family members, her sister, my Aunt Lorraine Ashford, tried to convince me that everyone deserves second chances. I disagreed. She didn't make a mistake, I told Aunt Lorraine during an uncomfortable phone call. She planned this. She attacked me because she couldn't stand my success. That's not forgivable. She's your mother, Catherine. She gave birth to you, raised you. And then she disfigured me because I was becoming something she couldn't control. Don't ask me to forgive that. I graduated high school with honors and a full scholarship to a university 3 hours away. Walking across that stage to receive my diploma, I felt proud not just of the achievement, but of everything I'd survived to get there. College opened new worlds. I continued modeling part-time while studying, building connections in the fashion and marketing industries. The scar remained, fading slightly but never disappearing. I stopped seeing it as damage and started viewing it as proof I'd survived something terrible and kept moving forward. Years later, I'm successful in ways my 15-year-old self couldn't have imagined. I run a boutique modeling agency that prioritizes ethical treatment and diverse representation. I mentor young models, especially those from difficult backgrounds, teaching them to recognize and escape toxic situations. My mother and I have never reconciled. She's tried reaching out a few times, through letters, through relatives, once even showing up at an event where I was speaking. Each time, I've maintained the boundary. She made her choice when she swung that glass at my face, and I've made mine by refusing to let her back into my life. The scar is still there, a permanent reminder of her jealousy and violence. But it's also a reminder of my strength, my resilience, and my refusal to let anyone, even my own mother, destroy my dreams. If your parent physically harmed you to sabotage your success because they couldn't handle you surpassing them, would forgiveness ever be possible? Or would the wound be too deep to heal?